get into the stinger and right on into Twig. Welcome to Twig, your weekly, geekly, family-friendly news show that tackles everything from Kendrick Lamar's surprise PlayStation Easter egg at the Super Bowl to Overwatch 2 trying to draw back their players with some games in between. I am Nerd Pastor Nate. I'm really the pastor of Checkpoint Church, the church designed with nerds, geeks, and gamers in mind. If you're listening on the podcast version of the show, be sure to give us a good review. Click that like if you're watching us on YouTube, either live or on the VOD, and consider come and listen live on Twitch every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We would love to have you. We're going to start the show, as we always do, with our What Have You Been Watching, Playing, and Reading. And I'm going to allow our guest here to introduce themselves and share what they have been watching, playing, and reading first.
What's up? My name is Cameron. You know me around the internet as HumarWhitIll. I'm stream over on CameronPlus Deanna, as well as podcast over on First Geek 411. So for me, haven't really been watching a ton lately. We have been very slowly working our way through Gravity Falls Season 2, kind of as at no knock to the quality of the show, because it's fantastic, but just kind of has been like the watch it as we eat dinner, and then just have not had great opportunities to do that lately. And so I think we are like a little over halfway through it. Enjoyed it, but yeah, slowly working our way through. When it comes to play, I have finally started Ghost of Tsushima. It has been a long time coming, and enjoying that quite a bit. I also booted up and played the new level in Astrobot that dropped today.
Oh, nice.
So that was exciting as well. And then outside of the world of video games, I have also been rocking some Lorcana lately. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more later on as like a tease for the future.
Oh, very cool.
And then when it comes to reading, I have been on a bit of a binge lately, thanks to the local library and their, library cardness. And so I've just finished Infinity Alchemist by Kaysen Callender. And so it is a Victorian-esque fantasy setting, cool magic system, all of those kinds of things. And then the local library also has a whole bunch of comic books available digitally. And so I have been working my way through the X-Men Krakoan era. And so I, this week, knocked out X-Men Cross Fantastic Four 4X, and then Marauders Volumes 1 and 2. And so it's been a great journey. There's so many comics to get through in the Krakoan era, but like endure and survive, we'll get there.
Yeah, those something about those like classic era of comic book strains where there's just like these chapter by chapter, and it's like 2 chapters here, 2 chapters there, and skip forward 47 chapters to get to the next part. And so, yeah, it definitely can be a bit daunting.
Yeah, the joy of this one is that the reading guide that I found, because this is the era that started in like 2023, and I believe ended, or 2020, and I believe ended in like late 2023, 2024. And so thankfully, like the way that it's set up is like there's like the main like comic, which are like the main like this event, then this event, then this event, and then everything else just kind of takes place in between those. And you don't, thankfully it's not like episode 1 of, or issue 1 of New Mutants, then issue 1 of X-Men, then issue 3 of New Mutants. Like there's none of that back and forth, at least with the reading guide that I found. So hopefully it doesn't get more complicated as we get later on.
Very good. Well, I love to hear a good use of the library. That always makes me happy. The more folks we have out there with the library card, the better it sounds to me, which is always good. I have been watching, playing, and reading quite a bit. I've gotten back on the horse after finally getting over whatever crud I had between the flu and pneumonia and all that mess in between. So I have been watching, trying to catch up on some of the shows that I want to write nerdy sermons on, such as The Friendly Neighborhood, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I've already got half of the sermon written for that one. I've been enjoying the latest Disney Plus iteration of Spidey. I've been a longtime fan of Spider-Man. He is probably the like Marvel hero that I liked the most as a kid. And so it's fun to see a different take on that character. I also just finished watching a Let's Play of Ace Attorney's Spirit of Justice, which I will say is one that I rated probably the lowest of all the Ace Attorneys because it gets a little sticky in some areas, but watching it as a Let's Play was way more fun than playing it. It was so funny to see the reactions of Barry Kramer, who I love to watch play those games, and it was just a good time. And then I added this one today because your boy straight up binged Severance.
Nice.
Everybody always talked about how good Severance was, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure it's great, but I just don't have time. I had time today because I just sat down and could not look away from the screen. It's so good. This is not news that we included in the show, but Apple has finally decided to make a Apple TV Android app. So now I could watch it on my phone. So that definitely made it a bit more convenient. And I am already like halfway through season 2. So maybe a bit problematic how quickly I watched it, but we just won't talk about that because you got to have those days where
it's all fine.
Yeah, it's fine. And it was great. It's a really good show and I'm very excited about it and have a nerdy sermon in mind for that one as well. So love it. I have been playing a couple of games. I wrapped up our Button Bash Brigade, our video game club game, Crypt Custodian. I thought about trying to go for some of the like achievements, completionist stuff, but I beat the game and I'm just pretty satisfied. I don't think I'm going to play any more of it. And then I also played a random horror dating sim like waifu game called My Side. I was not expecting it, but it was one where I had like, so I watched one of my Let's Players play the first 15 minutes. I stopped their Let's Play, bought the game, and started playing it right then because I was like, I'm going to need to experience this for myself. It was one of those. And it's so good. It's so very, very good. I think you're not a fan of the jump scare horror games, so probably not for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
But it's so good. The story is exceptional. So for anybody that is a fan of those things, I highly recommend it. And then reading, I have been reading my book of the month, book club Andromeda. That I get mailed to me, enjoying that one. And then also just got a book called Ping on virtual communication, which is kind of what I do for a living. So it's like I want to know more about how to do that better. And so far, it's not been too surprising, but just helpful to have everything in one place. And then a manga. A manga called Verses that I got in the Manga Spice Cafe. It's a story by one who did One Punch Man, Mob Psycho 100. This story is bonkers. The basic gist is that there are like people in this, like, you can see they're wearing like knight's armor and stuff like that. So it's these people in this like fantasy world who can no longer take down the Demon King. And so they summon people from like the future sciencey world to take down their bad guys. But it turns out the future sciencey world people have been having trouble of their own. And they were hoping to also summon the fantasy people to help them. And so it's like everybody is in trouble all of the time. And it's been really fun. So a good read so far. We love it. And you can find both of our readings over on Storygraph. I know that is one of our many places to be and to log and to do those things. Looking at the chat, DGC says, watching Horimiya, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood streams and YouTube, playing Honkai Star Rail, Ace Attorney Investigations, and Steins Gate, Elite, I'm assuming, and then reading FMA, Kingdom Prayer, and fan fiction. Love it. Love to see it. Love to hear it. Well, if anybody else would like to share their watch, play, read with us, feel free to do that throughout the stream or down in the comments section down below. I'd love to hear what you have been getting up to. But with that, we're going to get into some of the trending headlines for tonight, some of the exciting things going on in the world of nerddom, starting with our title for this stream, which is the PlayStation State of Play recap, February 12th, 2025. I'm talking about some of the things that were announced during that event. So take it away with the first one that I think had the most people maybe excited from this one.
Yeah, this is a long time coming, has been a lot of excitement behind it. This was also our stinger for the one more thing. And so that is the announcement of Saros from Housemarque. This is the studio behind the third-person shooter roguelike Returnal. And so this is it looks like it's going to be a spiritual sequel. It's set on the planet of Carcosa under the threat of an ominous eclipse. It'll feature Raoul Coley as a protagonist, Arjun Devraj, and then there will be permanent progression systems and world-changing deaths. We don't have a release date yet, but it is set for 2026 and coming to PS5. I'm super hyped for this. Returnal's an amazing game that like I didn't get to when it came out and like looped back to it later. And yeah, I'm super excited to see what Housemarque is going to do next, how they're going to build on that formula and flush out those types of systems. Because Returnal is probably one of my favorite roguelikes. And so I'm very excited for this.
It is one of those I will eventually get to it games. I still have not played Returnal, so I'm definitely now this has me curious of like, I mean, we got over a year to wait for this game, so maybe I'll lean into Returnal and see what it's all about. I remember that Russ from Crossfire Gaming really loved Returnal and was like streamed maybe the whole thing. So I'm very excited for it. DGC says very excited for this as well, especially given that people that worked on Returnal used to work at Remedy. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. I do like roguelikes, and I like Rahul a whole lot. So I'm totally down for all of this and looking forward to seeing where it goes. Another one of the big expectations of the night was Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater to be getting more information, and we did. We got an official release date of August 28th of this year. And also, excitingly enough, they announced that the Ape Escape crossover from the original Snake Eater will be happening once again. So hilarious that they've chosen to still include that. Ape Escape somehow holds on between Astrobot and now this, and I love to see it. I am not a big MGS fan necessarily. I I respect the game a whole lot. I respect Kojima a whole lot, but like never played him as a kid, and so I don't have the nostalgia factor. But this one looks really interesting and curious, and Ape Escape might have me curious about it too.
Yeah, I have played Metal Gear 4 and 5. Those are the possibly some of the worst ones to jump into, at least for 4, in terms of like understanding the actual plot. But 5 was amazing, and I know that this is Metal Gear Solid 3, correct? That's the and it's supposed to be one of like the best ones in the franchise. So this definitely has my interest in terms of actually coming and finally playing this one, because it was like similar to you. This is a one that like I missed growing up, and so I never had the chance to play it when it was fresh.
Yeah, and all the characters are iconic enough that as somebody that never played it, I like recognized the villains. And I was like, this is crazy that I know who these villains are, even though I've never played them. So pretty interesting thing. Borderlands 4 also got a release date of September 23rd, 2025. We will see about that. That has me a little bit anxious. I have a feeling it's getting pushed, but I don't know. I mean, maybe not. It's been a little while since it's been like announced and coming. So maybe we'll actually get it then, but I think probably going to be pushed there.
Yeah. I have no thoughts or vibes for this one. Like I enjoyed Borderlands 1 and 2 and played some of pre-sequel, and I kind of just feel like Gearbox really needs to show how this franchise can stay relevant. I'm hopeful. I know people that work at Gearbox. Of course, wish them the best, but I'm definitely like really curious to how this is going to keep this formula fresh. That seems like both in terms of the jokes and in terms of gameplay has not necessarily stayed.
And with the flop of the movie did not do well, and so it's kind of left people on a sour note, probably. We'll see. We also got to look at Onimusha Way of the Sword and its predecessor getting a remaster and release, I think, like yesterday. But the new title in the series will be coming out in 2026. We got a little bit of look at the gameplay trailer for that one. I know nothing about Onimusha, but curious.
Something else that we know nothing about is the new IP, Tides of Annihilation. This is a single-player, narrative-driven action-adventure game. Let's go. And it's set in a modern take on London, which is overtaken by over otherworldly forces, and it will feature Knights of the Round Table-esque story. And it includes some bosses as big as skyscrapers. I'm so hyped for this.
It looks pretty cool.
This game looks like literally like right up my alley. And it has some interesting like Final Fantasy 15 coded stuff.
It looked so much like Final Fantasy. That's all I could think about as soon as I saw it. I was like, this is very much borrowing from the modern games.
Yep. I legit thought it was going to be a juke. That it was going to be something where they were going to put up the title and then we were going to get like the fade away for Final Fantasy like spinoff or something like that. But
yeah,
it looks super cool. I'm very excited. We also got the announcement of Days Gone Remastered, releasing April 25th, 2025 for PS5. It'll feature VR and PS5 support. It's adding in new modes, including permadeath, speedrun, enhanced photo mode, and accessibility options. And then it'll also add a new horde mode where you can fight all of the not zombies. I don't know what they're actually called, but I'm pretty sure they're not technically zombies. And then this will be available as a $10 upgrade fee for any PS4 owners or people that have the PS4 version of the game already, keeping it in line with what we've seen for The Last of Us and Horizon. Can't remember the other one that happened with. So,
yeah, this is one that I have never cared for. I had no interest in Days Gone whenever it came out. I'm not big into the zombie game, and the main character did nothing for me. I was like, this doesn't look like it's for me at all. But you know, it's getting a remaster, so clearly enough people want it, and it'll be a curious thing to see how it actually does and where it leads to. And maybe it means that the team is working on something exciting to come up next. That'd be good.
Yeah, this one, probably in terms of the games that could get announced for a remaster, this is probably one of the one that's the most confusing, because it has been confirmed that they're not doing Days Gone 2, that they pitched it and that was denied. And so it seems really weird that they're doing this. My expectation is that this is probably a practice run for people that are at the studio. It's like training someone to be a game director or train some people to get used to the tools. Naughty Dog has said that that is something that they have done specifically with The Last of Us remasters as well. And so I would expect that there's probably something going on here. But in terms of the actual game, this is super weird to me.
Yeah. Definitely an interesting one. I'll be interested to see if it does well at all or if anybody really cares about it, but maybe they will. We also got to look at a game called Mind's Eye, developed by former GTA lead Leslie Benzies, releasing this summer. Features action on foot, in vehicles, and in the sky. The protagonist, Jacob Diaz, haunted by a mysterious neural implant. This is one that honestly did not even remain in my brain. I don't remember this one at all. But
I had to look this one up.
Yeah, it's not very memorable, but I'm sure that it'll have its own little pocket of sci-fi fans that'll give it a shot.
I like the cyberpunk aesthetic of it and like kind of those vibes. I think that there's some really interesting stories that could be told there, but I fully anticipate that this is a game that, like, come Game Awards season, people are not going to have completely forgotten about.
100%.
If it hits the summer release date.
Right.
Next up, we had the reveal of Warriors Abyss, which is a Dynasty Warriors inspired roguelike. It'll be released for PS4 and PS5 with a shadow drop. It features randomly generated stages, over 100 characters, and billions of combinations. I was really curious when they threw that number off because I feel like it was like 16 billion. Like, I'm really like, what does this mean, and how many of these are bad? Like, that's always my first thought whenever people put up like going back to Borderlands, whenever people put up, there's so many options. It's like, yeah, but how many of those are interesting?
Well, I mean, whenever you have like
nothing about this,
a couple million characters on the screen at one time, I guess you could say that you have billions. It might just be like 10 options. But there's just so many characters going on the screen. And they're like, well, this one has a green kimono on, and so it's completely different. I have no love for the Dynasty Warriors, but I'm curious about a roguelite twist on the franchise. I'm just glad that we're no longer in the era of getting Nintendo Warrior games. That drove me so crazy. I will never forgive them for Hyrule Warriors, because it was like, I love Zelda so much, but I don't want to play these games at all. But I think the further we can stay from that, the happier I will be. Of course, you were excited to see the next one, which is a franchise, a classic franchise that has returned to us, that has truly, I think, rocked the video game world. Yeah. I think it's renowned, and it is, of course, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which is going to be a multi-platform Mario Kart competitor, as much as Sonic Racing can be and has been historically. The interesting thing that this one looks like it's going to be doing is, as the name alludes to, cross worlds. You are going to be hopping between worlds as you are racing, like going back and forth between different zones, which I guess is just kind of like any other race, but they're just going to be intentional about like multiple worlds within one set of laps. So curious. I like Sonic Racing a little bit. I like the music especially. So if they bring back the music or even have like a classic OST mode, then I'll be all about it. But just looking at it, yeah, it's Sonic Racing. It's not Mario Kart. It stinks that we got a new Mario Kart announcement because it's like, or I guess not an announcement, but we got a tease for it. And so it's like, yeah, Sonic Racing. Too bad. I mean, too bad.
It looks really fun. Like in that classic, like growing up era of like when you would go to a friend's house and then they would have a game that you had never heard of before and then you would sit down and play it and it would be a blast. Like that's what this looks like.
100%.
I just like can't really imagine people like, obviously this will be on more platforms besides Switch. So there is like that side of it, but like it just seems like there's no way, even if it's a great game, that it would ever like get those legs. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's like a devoted Sonic Racing franchise that myself, you, and Jeff Keighley have never heard of. So,
well, it is renowned for a reason. So, I'm sure it's going to pop off. Stellar Blade also got a DLC announcement with the Nikki series, Nikki crossover, and also got an announcement of a PC port. Goddess of Victory, Nikki, and adds a new boss outfit, dolls, and more. I did not play Stellar Blade, so I can't really weigh in on this one too much, but coming out June of this year.
All I know is it's supposed to be a great action RPG. Like I've heard really good things about it. I have not played it either, but Sony seems to be pushing it hard. I believe it's kind of like falls into that like second party bracket where like Sony has helped with it, but it's not like a PlayStation first party game. But I'm excited to see more content coming for it. I'm always happy when story based games get additional content. And kind of keep that going outside of just like the constant churn of live service games. Like it always makes me happy to see that stuff. So speaking of that, Liza P Overture was announced. This is prequel DLC for Liza P, the Pinocchio Soulsborne. So this DLC is going to be set before the events of Lies of P and will explore the hidden stories of Krot and the Puppet Frenzy. It will be releasing this summer. I played a little bit of Lies of P. I really enjoyed it.
I think I played the demo.
I'm excited to see that there's more. Yeah. Yeah, I think I got to like area 7 or 8. So like I think I was like around a third of the way through it before I fell off. But I did enjoy my time with it.
I know that the Souls-like people really enjoyed it. So I think that like this team should definitely do more and maybe run their like names of their games by more people next time. That would be nice if we could not get another Lies of P. Any other name really will do. I thought it was hilarious that they even included it as the name of the DLC. Like I would have loved if they'd have been like Overture DLC for Lies of P for our game that we don't want to talk about the title of because it's so bad. But I am
because go ahead.
Go ahead. You're good.
Oh, there is a tease at the end of it for the sequel, and so I anticipate that we will get Lies of
Q.
like letter, and that'll be the naming convention. And so we'll see how that goes.
Time will tell with that one. I'm glad that they're doing more, and maybe this is a tease to get us into the next era of whatever the Lies of series shall be. We also got a random look at a WWE 2K25 The Island multiplayer social hub where players can develop their storylines. I had no idea there was such a robust WWE fan base that needed this, but apparently they did, and good on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait to see all the ways that 2K is going to try to microtransaction all of these people's wallets.
100%.
So,
you got to buy every dock on the island.
Microtransactions. Like
100%.
Next up, we had Shinobi Art of Vengeance. It's a 2D, not Metroidvania, but kind of Metroidvania-esque, releasing this August, developed by Sega and Lizard Cube, which are the Streets of Rage 4 devs. This game looks beautiful. I love the art style. I'm excited to try this. I never played the like classic Shinobi games, but this was part of the Sega. We're rebooting a bunch of old franchises and bringing them back. And so hopefully it'll be really fun. Don't know much about it other than that it is coming.
Yeah. I love that type of game, so I will probably give it a shot, but I feel like I am still on the backlog of like the Prince of Persia games we got last year, so I probably owe it to them to play those first. We also got a sci-fi game called Metal Eden, a first-person shooter with core-ripping mechanics, releasing very soon and coming to the PS5. I didn't know much about this one, and it didn't stand on my brain, kind of like the Mind's Eye one. I don't honestly remember it much.
Yep. Yeah, honestly, similar to the other one, I could not necessarily tell you which one of these was which.
Nope.
Without doing some Googling. So we also continued to get information on Lost Soul Aside, releasing May 30th for PS5 and PC. This was originally a single-person project, but is now a full-scale action adventure. This game looks really cool. This has been floating around for a very long time, and I'm excited that we will hopefully finally be getting to the finish line for this one. And then I'm hoping that this is a game that like catches on and is a lot of fun. Because it does look very interesting. I think I've heard from people that were like in games media that they've played this game like pre-COVID, and like
long time coming.
It has just kind of been, yeah. And so hopefully this lands and is very good. Like I said, the exploration looks really cool. I don't know if it's like magic system, but like the way that the character traverses and all of that looks really interesting.
Love it. Even though it is not yet out yet, we did get an announcement about Monster Hunter Wilds coming out very soon, and I guess the beta is out, and so people are excited about it anyway, but they've already announced the first free title update, Mitsutsune update coming in spring. Going to be adding that character as well as some new quests and more surprises. I think they just wanted another opportunity to say, remember, this game is coming out soon. Don't forget. Make sure you buy this game. It's coming out real soon. And that was their way of doing it while also getting the people that are diehard Monster Hunter fans excited about it.
Yeah. Excited to see, like, Monster Hunter games have always traditionally had post-launch support like this, and so I'm excited to see them continue that and kind of get stuff out of the way. The new monster looks really cool.
Sure.
I
wonder if it's like a known
Wilds.
one. Like, it made me think
that's kind of
a history.
Yeah. There's so many different things, and like the franchise as a whole has so many like spin-offs and stuff like that it can be difficult to track as someone who's like a casual fan like I am, in terms of, it's not Rathalos, I don't really know a ton about it.
Right. Exactly.
We did get a new story trailer for Split Fiction from the studio behind It Takes Two and A Way Out. This is going to be releasing March 6th and looks very cool. It's similar to those other games. It's a 2-player action game, puzzly, where you are going through different fictional worlds and solving and taking care of all kinds of stuff there. I'm excited for this one. I believe the way that it's going to work is if you buy the game, you're able to get like a buddy pass for somebody else to play it with. So you're not required to have 2 copies to play with somebody, which is a great thing.
Yeah, they do it right. I mean, this is a company that has done it very successfully, twice now, really, with good games that do the co-op, even virtual, like, distant co-op, still does everything well. And I was glad to see more story. I think it has me a little bit more on board. I was not super interested in the original one. I was like, this looks cool, but I'm not like gripped. But this one, I like that they're writers. I like that they're kind of experiencing their writing. That made it a little bit more curious for me. So I'm more on board than I was. And I will look forward to hearing how it goes and probably watching a Let's Play of it. I'm not very into the co-op scene, so I doubt I'll be playing it, but hey, maybe on stream. It'd be a fun stream game for sure. So if it does super well and has those goofy moments, I don't think it's ever going to live up to the It Takes Two elephant scene. So I don't think we're going to get that, but maybe the humor will bleed through and do a good thing, but time will tell. We got a look at the next supermassive game. The Until Dawn creators announced a new sci-fi horror experience, Directive 8020. Not a great name. Not going to be very memorable, but is coming out in October, which is the right time of year to come out. It's going to be a great stream game. It looks very spooky. Until Dawn does a great job with the jump scares. It is a kind of like Cloverfield paradox vibe of a monster movie with on a alien spaceship, and the crew wakes up and things start to go wrong. So it should be an interesting time. If you're a fan of horror games storytelling, I'm sure it's going to be good. But they whiffed it with Directive 8020.
Yeah. As a general rule, I do not think you should put numbers in your game titles unless it's a year or like
A release.
like yeah, like or like yeah, this is the third one. Like you should just not do that. It's way too confusing. We got the reveal of Dreams of Another from Pixel Junk. This is releasing in 2025. It's a dreamlike shooter where as you shoot things, things get created. I am very curious to what this is going to actually be from like a gameplay perspective, because it looked interesting in like an artsy kind of way, but not in a fun video game kind of way. And so I'm very interested to how that mechanic is going to translate to actually interesting gameplay and story.
Time is of the essence with that one, I think. Just as an indie game lover and the type of game that it looked like, it did look very like artsy, like noir-y, and it probably needs to be like a 3-hour experience. I think if it's anything longer than that, it just is not going to work because the mechanic can only last so long, and I imagine they can only do so many cool things with it. But it did look really cool. Like, I thought it looked interesting, and I liked the kind of commentary, the social commentary that they're making of like, this gun is not meant for destruction but creation. I'm like, cool, that's a neat motif. Don't run it into the ground, and they might.
Yeah, it's very swords to plowshares.
Yes, 100%. And I'm curious, and I will probably be giving it a shot just because it looks interesting. We also got a random game, speaking of indie-looking games, called Darwin's Paradox, in which you are an octopus trapped in a food factory. You can camouflage your way out of the factory and then try to make your great escape. It's just a silly time. I don't know why it was there. It looked like it accidentally got brought into the state of play. Like, it didn't really feel like it needed to be there, but somebody was like, my niece worked on Darwin's Paradox, and so you better put it in because I'm on the board. Like, it was that kind of vibe. But it did look really fun. So maybe it'll be good.
Because it's Konami, right? Am I misremembering?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even remember anything about it besides the octopus.
Yeah, I could be entirely incorrect there, but I thought it was something where it was like a game being published by one of the like major studios, which again was kind of a weird thing.
Even more surprising.
I'm trying to like Google and yes, it is Konami. So I feel like, kind of to your point, this was, hey, if you want Metal Gear Solid to be there, you're putting Darwin's Paradox in as well.
Yeah, maybe
it does look cool though.
I mean, I'm down for some octopus mechanics. That's fun.
Yeah.
It'll be a good time. And DGC says, reminded me of Katamari Damacy. I'm guessing that is the octopus one and not the, because I know they're on a bit of a delay, but the Dreams of Another. I think it's probably more the Darwin, but fun stuff. We also got a look at a stop motion first person action adventure, kind of spooky looking as well, called The Midnight Walk, releasing in May 8th, 2025 on PS5 and PSVR 2. It looked pretty good. Looked pretty good. I mean, I think that I enjoy this art style. I enjoy the stop motion vibes, but it was kind of like, it could just be another entry into the series. There was like an Alice in Wonderland game that was themed around dice. Gosh, what was it called? I can't remember. It was on Game Pass forever. Lost in Random. It reminded me of Lost in Random. I don't know if it's the same people or not, but it looked just like that game. And so that game was also just all right. And I think this one looked just all right.
For the people that have not stopped playing Dave the Diver.
Oh, because it's this long of a game, you could still be playing it.
Yeah, if you haven't found other games to play that are actually indie games. Dave the Diver is getting a crossover with the Like a Dragon series, with Kazuga Ichiban joining in April of 2025. This will include new mini games like karaoke, as well as Like a Dragon themed restaurant staff. Say all of that to say, it's awesome that this game's still getting support. This game was very much not my vibe and was way too long for the experience that you get. But I am happy to see kind of the same thing as like I was saying above with Stellar Blade. Like, I'm always happy when like single player games continue to get support and continue to have those types of legs.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a really interesting era of indie games, which, again, the debate is this actually an indie game? But even still, like, this vibe of game doing these continuous crossover packs. Like we saw it a lot with Friends of Jimbo and Balatro. That's like still getting new spinoffs of packs and things like that. Like I think that is an interesting thing that is happening in the current indie scene. It would have been exciting in the era of the Undertale and Stardew Valley indie games to see like if they would have done crossovers. That could have been super fun. Maybe the next Concerned Ape game will have some indie crossovers as well.
Yeah. We also saw some more footage for Hell Is Us, the most generic looking post-apocalyptic action adventure game. It's 100%. Very like Death Stranding coded and like looks like a video game. Like I'm sure like it'll be cool, but like this is one kind of the opposite of the ones that we were talking about. This one I remember because it just looks like everything. Like you could show me a picture of this next to like any post-apocalyptic game. I'm like, oh yeah, it's that one. So I remember something, but
yeah, I have no further thoughts on this one. We'll see. Maybe it'll be one that actually makes some waves, but I think we're getting into an era also of like Oscar bait games where it's just like, this is a game that we saw that The Last of Us did really well, and we want to talk more about post-apocalyptic stuff and get that fan base on board and see if we can make some dollar bills from it. So could be that situation.
That makes me think. It kind of reminds me of the idea of like whenever you're like telling a story, you just pick two things and tell a story that combines them. That's exactly what this looks like. Of like, 100%. This was not our creative vision, but we just picked the two things that were cool and put them together, and now we have this game.
Yep, dartboard style. Not on a dartboard, and certainly not on my prediction, was we got a new Digimon story game announced. Digimon Story Time Stranger is the latest JRPG set in both the real world and digital world. Players are going to collect and train Digimon to stop the collapse of reality. Releasing this year for PS5. I love Digimon. I'm a big fan of the franchise, and I try to play all of the games they released. And in particular, the Digimon story games are great. The Cyber Sleuth stuff, all of those games are pretty good. So I think that this will probably be a good title, and I think we'll have folks excited for more Digimon content, especially after the flop that was Digimon Survive. I would love to see this one be a little bit better, but admittedly, the Digimon games are a bit hit and miss.
Yeah, I have not kept up with anything Digimon for a very long time, so like this kind of felt like, I don't know who was asking for this, but I'm happy for them that they got this.
Yeah, it's a pretty big niche at this point. I think the story games were they were a big deal. So,
because I know I don't think it was Survive that I was thinking of, but I knew there was one recently that people seem to enjoy. And so I'm happy for them. If this is a game that does well and shows some interesting gameplay, I could definitely see myself as a JRPG enjoyer really liking this, as long as it's, not 100-hour epic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it could very well turn into that. The thing about Digimon is that they're just not as memorable necessarily as the Pokemon games, so they don't have that nostalgia factor to them. But fans of the anime typically end up enjoying this just because of the fact that they have that nostalgia connection. But typically for me, that is going until I find a Terriermon, raising a Terriermon, and then I'm content with the game and I stop playing, because that's my favorite Digimon, and I love getting that experience. Speaking of your favorite type of games here, we're also getting a Five Nights at Freddy's game, Secret of the Mimic. First new FNAF game in 2 years. It doesn't feel like it, because it feels like we had a FNAF bleeding out a couple years ago where there were 4 FNAF games in a year. And now all of a sudden we've had this gap between them. But it should be an interesting time. I feel like that typically FNAF is good for YouTube and boosts up the streamers that are on that space. And it'll be weird to not have MatPat around for this one. Not have our game theorist talking about all the good things of FNAF, but I won't be playing this one. I will probably be watching it. I think the last one that I watched, or the last game that I played from FNAF, was maybe Sister Location. And that was about where I wrapped up my experience with the franchise. But an animatronic enemy that can mimic others, hence the Secrets of the Mimic, should be interesting.
To the surprise of no one, I've never played a Five Nights at Freddy's game. Time is a flat circle. And you could have told me this was the first Five Nights at Freddy's game in 5 years, or told me this was the first one in 3 weeks, and I would have believed you either way. Like, it just feels like they're everywhere as someone who's not interested in it. But again, kind of like what I was saying for Digimon. Like, I'm happy that the people that this is for are happy. Like, I really think that that's a great thing for them to continue getting, hopefully, quality content and IPs that they love.
Very good. Holy cow, we've been talking for 30 minutes about the state of play. It was so good. It was a good one. I thought it was a good state of play. It had a little bit of something for everybody, except for maybe my indie peeps, but that's not necessarily like the Sony style anyway. But it was good stuff. Lots of new entries, lots of old entries getting updates, literal remasters, and a look at a little bit of everything. So I give it a thumbs up. I like it.
Yeah, I like this one as well. I know there's been people have been giving it flack around the internet. This is honestly the type of state of play that I like, and this did not commit the cardinal sin of state of plays, which is spending 30 minutes on a game that no one cares about.
Oh yeah,
like because it doesn't matter what it is if you spend. Yeah, like and that to me that's the best part of like this is about 40 minutes, 20. We've talked 25 games. And it felt like that time was pretty evenly split between the different games. Because I know, like, for me, the frustrating thing is always like, okay, cool, well, here's 10 minutes on this one sports game. Like, I really don't care. I feel like that kills momentum a lot of times. Like this one, while there's definitely stuff that looks generic or looks like things that I will not be interested in, at least it didn't dwell on those, and then it got to other stuff quickly that I thought was more interesting.
Yeah.
The pacing was good. It's another way of saying that in a much more concise way.
I agree. This is my 5th year of being like intimately involved in the nerdy news, gaming news space. And I have never seen people be happy with any of these ever. So it's like, I think that these are just like a lose-lose situation. You cannot win the people of the internet. And so I typically just try to be like, did I enjoy it or not? And most often I enjoy it well enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the only way that people will be happy is if like every first party studio announces a game and they're all coming out right away.
Yep. Sly Cooper comes back too. We got the retro folks have got to get their ego massaged as well. Yes, indeed. All right. Well, that wraps it for our state of play recap. And we're going to get into some other news regarding Overwatch. Take it away.
Overwatch 2 is getting a major overhaul starting with Season 15, and unfortunately, it is not adding Marvel Rivals characters in it, which would make it way more interesting IMO. Instead, it's going to be bringing hero perks and a new mode called Stadium, which will feature third-person gameplay, and a return of loot boxes, though only as free rewards. Hero perks will let modify characters mid-match, while Stadium introduces round-based best-of-7 format where players can earn and spend currency between their heroes. This is very Counter-Strike-esque and or similar to Valorant as well. Season 16 will introduce Freya, a crossbow-wielding bounty hunter, as another hero. Aqua will be joining the roster later. Blizzard is also reviving 6v6 modes, bringing back the GOATS meta and adding features like hero bans, map voting for competitive play, all the things that people said they were crazy for taking away. Alongside, of course, new waves of cosmetics, mythic skins, and a second collaboration with the K-pop group Seraphim,
probably.
Oh, it is Seraphim? Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
The double S was throwing me for a loop. And so Overwatch 2 is positioning itself for a fresh start amid growing competition.
Yeah.
As much as I like to ragged on Overwatch, I think this is really cool. Like, this is a fresh reboot, like trying to bring in stuff that has been popularized by other games and seeing what that can look like in yours, I think is a great way of finding ways to reach a new audience or engage your audience that is currently playing the game with more or different things to do.
Yeah. I think naturally, like, they are expecting there to be a wave of Marvel Rivals fans that are going to back off. Like, it's currently the hot thing. There's going to be a portion of the audience that's never going to go back to Overwatch post Marvel Rivals, but there will be some that will want to go back. And so they're like, what can we do to be sitting pretty whenever that group comes back to us? And it sounds like they're pulling out all the stops. So I don't know if this is a plea of like desperation. They almost feel like they're pulling like a Fortnite level move of like, we'll just do what every other game does and you'll like it. But Yeah. I'll be interested to see how this pans out for, like layoffs in the current situation. Like, will we see a big purge about to happen? Or is this, kind of, trying to set up to avoid that? Who could say? But I hope to see the team get more support. And as people that are big fans of these types of games, I hope that they will go back and give it another chance, and give it a try and see if this holds up for them. And I will always enjoy new character trailers. I don't play Overwatch anymore, but I will for sure be watching Freya and Aqua's trailer, because I just think that Overwatch does it better than just about anybody else there.
And they have fantastic character design. And that's like a very, very Blizzard thing. They've always done well with that.
Yeah, they know what they're doing for sure. Well, do let us know if you have any thoughts on Overwatch in the comments, but we're going to move on to our next one, which is probably a quick one here. Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl LIX halftime show surprised fans with a major PlayStation-themed stage design, featuring the iconic controller symbols and at the very end, a bold game over message. The video game motif was intentional, with art director Shelley Rogers explaining that Lamar wanted to frame his life as a video game, using the performance to connect with younger audiences. While the PlayStation reference also seemed like a final jab at Lamar's long-running feud with Drake, it remains unclear if Sony was aware of the tribute beforehand. They absolutely were not, for sure. Fans are still analyzing the performance for hidden details, making it one of the most talked about Super Bowl moments of the year. I also wrote down, so there is a TikTok going around right now that is saying that at the beginning, it blinked lights over each of the symbols. And everybody has been saying that it is the body armor and unlimited life cheat code for GTA. It is not. It is absolutely not. I don't know who started this, but I do have the code written down. I have not found any matching games. I have searched everywhere, but if anybody would like to pursue and find out what is this cheat code from, it uses no, because it's just the like face buttons, right? So there's no R1, there's no L1. There's only square, triangle, circle, X, triangle, square, X, circle, square, triangle, X, circle, square, circle, square. Anybody that has an eidetic memory that plays video games and wants to tell us what cheat code that is, I would love to find out what in the world, or if it just went with the music and looked cool, because that is more my bet at this point.
Yeah, I was watching the new Rockstars breakdown of Lamar's halftime show. They kind of went through a lot of the Easter eggs. They referenced that, like, hey, we found some tie-in with a specific game because of this, but we have no clue if this is actually a reference or if this is just digging too hard.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite parts about the coverage of this is the idea that this imagery was intentional, as opposed to accidental, of just like, oh, oops, we didn't realize that we put the PlayStation symbols up here. Yeah. What a crazy coincidence. Like,
what are the odds? What are the odds? A square, a triangle, an X, and a circle. Those could be anything, just four shapes. It could be a reference to those like toys where you sort the circle and the square, and that's what it is. Surely it's not a PlayStation reference in a giant grid.
Yeah.
With game over at the end.
So exactly. Like, I think this is really cool. Where I was watching the game, we did not have audio, or people were talking, so we could not easily hear the music. And so I do want to go back and watch the performance. So I got to catch a lot of the visuals. I, of course, did clue in right away on the PlayStation controller buttons, but I need to go back and actually like listen to the performance and see all of that kind of in the context versus just seeing it as people were chatting.
As a very big fan of Lamar, I was thrilled with it. It was so good. It was such a great performance. I could talk about it, but we have already spent enough time with the state of play, and so I can't go into it anymore. But just know that all the haters can back off. It's a fantastic performance. It was so good, and I can go into it for days, to the point that I almost wrote a nerdy sermon on it, but I was like, I feel like this is too niche. This is too niche. This is too out of my wheelhouse, and I would probably just embarrass myself. But I got a lot of thoughts about it. It was very good. With that, we're going to take a quick break into an ad read here. So let's talk about Has Been Hotel, which is the show with demons and musical numbers and also redemption. It turns out that it is one of our most popular nerdy sermons over on our Checkpoint Church YouTube channel, which you are probably watching this on, unless you're listening to the podcast. If you want more stories like Has Been Huntsman Hotel, Undertale, Final Fantasy, Stardew Valley, and how they deal with our faith and religious lives, then you should check out our nerdy sermons over on Checkpoint Church. We talk about all sorts of games all of the time. We talk about anime, we talk about movies, we talk about all sorts of stuff, and they are back every single week. So if you want to talk about faith, as well as gaming, as well as nerddom, fandoms, those sorts of things, if you've ever thought to yourself, what does faith have to do with my favorite fandoms, then you should check out Checkpoint Church on YouTube and find our nerdy sermon section. We have over 150 for you to enjoy. So subscribe, get into that backlog, and let us know what you think. All right. With that, we're going to get into our main topic for tonight, which we will go through quickly. It's silly anyway, folks, but it is Valentine's Day tomorrow. It's Valentine's Day week. And so whether you are celebrating with a special someone, hanging out with friends, or just vibing with maybe your favorite video game, love is in the air. And let's be real, nerds show love a little differently. So we're going to do something silly for a second and talk about the 5 love languages that some of you may be familiar with from Gary Chapman. It's very much a thing that people talk about as being a sort of pseudoscience, almost made fun of at this point. But we're going to talk about some of the ways that gamers might talk about their geeky love languages. And so we've got words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Those are the 5. And we're just going to pick at random. I know this is ridiculous, but pick one from, let's start with words of affirmation out of the list here. Which one's some of your favorites there, Cameron?
So I love this idea of you have complimenting someone on their D&D character build in this list. To kind of go into that with another one, as someone who is a big commander player in Magic, I think there's this similar idea of, I have never seen this card before. What does it do? Why is it in your deck? Because it's amazing. This idea of hey, you found something really cool, and encouraging people based on what you found or what they found. And I think that can be a great way of showing affirmation for people, showing like encouragement based off of their interest and their time and their intentionality of going and seeking these things out that might not be as popular. I think that's a great one.
Yeah, respecting the strategy. That's a big deal. We put a lot of thought into our gaming strategies. And so knowing that it is noticed could be some good affirmation. For me, I was brought back to the days of the thing that it mentions is notes in Animal Crossing, maybe on people's bulletin boards. But what it brought me back to was the era of PictoChat on the DS, where you would have local texting options with the people that were in your direct vicinity. You'd connect with their DS and you'd write messages back and forth in PictoChat, and just, that kind of stuff is fun to leave some kind of kind notes. Maybe sometimes they might lean into the meme or just being kids. But I think that there is a level of wholesomely complimenting somebody through the various means of digital connection that we have out there. So those are some ways that we might be able to affirm some others around us. All right, let's move on to acts of service. Any acts of service stand out to you?
So again, kind of going to building off one of the ones that's here, the idea of organizing a friend's board game collection. For me, I think one of these is sleeving my cards because I'm one of the people that for board game, even for board games, not just for trading card games, I like to have my cards sleeved. And so that is definitely something where if I can, I will get color coordinated sleeves for everything in the deck. If there's red cards and they're not going to be mixed in with other ones, I will sleeve them in red sleeves and stuff like that. And so it's definitely a journey for me to sleeve some games. And having people to do that with while watching TV, while hanging out, that's definitely something that I think is a great way of spending time. And I think acts of service as a whole can be very simple. I think sometimes it can get overblown. I saw a meme a while ago about the idea that we need more friends that you can text and just say, hey, I'm going to the store. Will you come with me? Of just come hang out with me while I'm grocery shopping, or let's go grocery shop together. Sure. I feel this is a great way of having that friendship and that relationship built out.
When I think about Discord as like an existence, it is a thing that is just passive service for one another. It is just like letting each other know that we are present with one another. We're in the same space. We're here for each other, or even like just the reaction that you can add on to people's messages. Like we have a prayer request channel on our Discord, and sometimes just getting like that purple heart or those prayer hands on your prayer request can really be impactful. And that can be a form of how we're taking our time to serve each other in an important way. And so that's a good example as well. I am reminded of growing up, and sometimes with the love languages, it has to do with what it does for you as well. And so it's like, this is also my love language and that I am expressing for somebody else. And so for me, it would be organizing technology. Brings me so much joy. And so like to see unkempt wires or to see like an unorganized desk set up or any of those sorts of things, like this was very much growing up whenever we would set up the TV and my parents would just give up and be like, you just hook up the VCR because we're not even going to worry about it. You do it, you figure it out. You're going to make it look pretty and nice. And I always would. And that was a way that I was serving my family growing up, and still, honestly, I love that and love like running the wires through the walls now is the big fancy thing, and I'm a big fan of doing any of that. Moving on, receiving gifts, gift giving. What stands out here?
Yeah, I love sending extra in-game or sending extra in-game currency so a friend can buy a skin. I love this. I remember when I was in college and League of Legends was just taking off. We were doing like a LAN party. And I had gone to the bathroom or something, and I was playing a character named Fiddlesticks, who was like a scarecrow. He was like one of my mains at the time. And while I was gone, my friend had like gone into my account, added his card, and he bought me the brand new skin for that character that had just released. Awesome. And so that was really cool. Like that's something that, I mean, unfortunately, we're like a decade after that, but like that's something that sticks with me. Like, I think that was such a cool and kind thing in a way for him to show care and compassion. And so this is one that like, I'm so bad at like giving gifts, and like, this is something I want to get better at. And I'm trying to make more of an effort with this in my life. But yeah, to me, I'll just always say like the small acts with great love, I think is a great way of thinking about gifts.
For sure. So this is promo for our checkbox that we do every month. But we send out our communion elements every month in a like subscription box style that also includes some other goodies. And I have found so much joy in picking out gifts for those things. It is like a delight to think about what would these nerds enjoy. And so like, for instance, this month we were talking about reading and we're talking about books. And so I sent everybody a book, but then also everyone gets a 3D printed Buster Sword bookmark, which is just cool. And it was like nobody else, like there's no other group of people. If I went to my like rural church that I served at as a student pastor, they'd be like, why are you giving me this? But this group of people are going to be thrilled to get some random Buster Sword tchotchke in their box to just put into their books and think is great. So that has been a thing that has been particularly life-giving to me. So if you've never tried it, send some gifts to some nerds, because odds are they're going to be cheap little like things. And we typically don't want to buy them for ourselves because it feels silly to buy them for ourselves. So this gives me the excuse to buy things for people that probably they would never get for themselves. Next up, quality time. Oh, go ahead.
So I was going to go back to what you're saying. I feel like if you have a 3D printer, like there are so many fun things that you can do with that. I was looking for it. I have behind me a ring, the ring from Lord of the Rings that a friend printed off for me, and it's just kind of hanging out. And then I also have like a little trophy and like a little frog that a different friend like 3D printed for me as they were just like testing their printer. And just like little things like that. It's such a fun, like, hey, I was thinking about you and I made this thing. And so I think, yeah, definitely recommend.
100%. Not me actively having a 3D fidget toy in my hands right now.
Yeah,
definitely couldn't be me. All right. Quality time.
Yeah. For this one, I love the Bob Goff quote of quality time happens in quantity time. And so seeing things on here, like attending conventions as a couple or friend group, I think is amazing. I know like I've had groups that have gone to like PAX East before together. And that's always so much fun. It's great going, hanging out with people and getting to spend time at those big conventions and kind of getting to do the like, hey, we showed up together. We did not see each other for the day, but now like let's check back in because we met up for lunch or met up at a panel. And like, what cool stuff have you been doing for the past couple hours? I love that kind of stuff. And then the like that idea of like the post con like hotel hangouts where everyone is just like super tired. You have like really bad pizza and you're just like hanging out in the room chatting. Like that's such a good quality time when it comes to conventions and things like that. That it's not just that time on the con floor, it's those other random times that you have throughout the event.
I love it. One moment that stands out to me as being an impactful moment of quality time is kind of like I mentioned with the gift giving. There's like things that you would never do for yourself, but that somebody else can do for you and can be impactful. And so there is a game called Alice is Missing, and we played, it's like a TTRPG sort of vibe. It's more like live storytelling, like gameplay-based storytelling. And it is like one of the most impactful moments of my life that I can still remember, where there was just a group of like 5 of us from Checkpoint, and then basically a GM who sat down for like 4 hours one random Saturday night from like 10 until 2 in the morning and played this random game. And it is so impactful to me, like to this day, because it's something that I wouldn't have ever done for myself. It's something that never would have happened another way, but it was quality time that we spent with one another. And so I think that that gets into like just being willing to spend big bulks of time playing games with other people, because that just doesn't happen, especially the older that you get and the further out of school that you get. That time becomes like fewer and further between. And so being willing to offer some of that time to somebody rather than doom scrolling through TikTok for another 4 hours, like that is an instance of how we can love our fellow nerds, geeks, and gamers well.
And I'll call out there, I think that for me is part of why I love tabletop RPGs and board games. Like it's much, and I think that's part of why I haven't really gotten into playing them and all that kind of stuff that a lot of people have a lot of fun with. But for me, like it's the quality time of that hobby that I think is such an impactful part. And I think that it's such a great way of like, as someone who like just started my first in-person tabletop RPG since pre-COVID, like there's something so different about like having people around the table rather than having people like scattered and just online digitally. Although of course, digital is an amazing way to connect with people. Shout out to our D&D game and stuff. But yeah, I love that as like as a way of building time and connection with people.
For sure. And then the last one, and probably the one that I'm the worst at, is physical touch. So yeah, what have you got there?
And so I'm going to say here, I love my guy friends that will give me hugs. Like, let's go. Like, this is something that like I have very intentionally fostered with like I still hang out with several of like my high school best friends that are like either still in the DFW area or I still see when they come back in town because family's here. And we have like, again, very intentionally fostered the like, we are guys who hug each other. There's none of this like awkward handshake, like one arm on the back, 2 pats kind of thing. It's like, these are like full on hugs because we are happy to see each other. And I love that as this idea of like friendship and connection and something that like you don't see a lot in the world. And so I want to just like shout that out of like build those relationships, especially like guys, we're so bad at showing like physical affection for other guys or to other guys. And so I want to just like kind of send that encouragement and send that vibe out into the world of it is okay to hug your guy friends and for it not to be awkward and not just do the 2 back pat.
For sure. Yeah, I've never been like, I think it's a pastoral thing of they won't let you be a pastor unless you have the capacity to give hugs, because you're going to be giving a lot of them to parishioners and people in your church. And so that's definitely never been too much of a thing, but I was trying to think of like specific, what are the nerddom things that like need physicality, that require some kind of that capacity. And I don't know, it's been tricky for me to come up with any logical thing that makes any sense here. I do feel like the classic like high five is a good time, and just like goofing off or even like the fist bump can feel so affirming to have like somebody that is there and is just like congratulating you. So it goes along with the like camaraderie of the thing. But then also, I think just being aware of each other's presence. Like I think about sitting next to somebody watching a movie in a theater is like it's not necessarily like you're not touching necessarily, but you're watching a movie. You're next to each other. You're aware of each other's presence, and that can be something that is also like there's a big difference between seeing a movie by yourself and seeing movies with friends, even if you aren't saying anything. You just know they're there, and so I think that's another instance of how that can be a really affirming thing. Love it. All right. Well, this has been our silly look into some nerdy love languages. If you can think of any ways that you might show words of affirmation, acts of service, gift giving, quality time, physical touch in your nerdy self, let us know. This can be a way to encourage one another to just admit and acknowledge and accept and affirm each other as nerds, geeks, and gamers who love each other. Whenever we say God loves you, we love you, you matter, we mean it here at Checkpoint. And so it's important that we address that a part of that is the love part. Not only does God love us, but we love each other in community. So whether it is hyping up your squad or gifting rare collectibles or playing D&D or whatever it may be, all of it counts. So like I said, let us know, drop a comment, however you show love this week, whether in a game or in a fandom or in real life. Keep doing what makes sense for you, especially as we enter into the weird season of Valentine's Day. Hopefully that can be a happy spin regardless of where you might be with this particular holiday. So happy Valentine's Day as we wrap up that bit of our show. Okay. With that, we're going to get into everybody's favorite part of the show, which is, of course,
Cryptic Critiques.
That's right. It's time for everyone's favorite game show, Cryptic Critiques. This is the game show of bad reviews for beloved games. I've scoured the internet to find 3 of the funniest bad reviews I could for popular video games. I'll deliver them one at a time to our special guest of the week, who this week is Cameron from CameronPlus, Deanna, and HumarWhitIll, and One Geek for 11. Play along with us. See if you can figure it out before clue number 3. However, if you are watching live, do not send your guesses in until the guest gets to give their final choice at the end of the 3rd prompt. But if you're watching the VOD after the fact, you can drop your guess whenever you want to. All right. Are you prepared?
I'm as prepared as I'm going to be. This is the classic, like the game show is way easier when you're not on it kind of thing.
Yes, I know that vibe. As somebody that has both been in the hot seat and most often offers the hot seat, I definitely get it. But I am confident. I think you got this one. All right. Let's get into our first clue. Again, these are real-life bad reviews of popular games. The first one, I beat the tutorial battles without touching the left analog stick. I beat the tutorial battles without touching the left analog stick. Does that remind you of anything?
It makes me think it's a roguelike or like a Metroidvania style game.
Okay.
And there's something that like as the boss is attacking you, you can just kind of stand in place and it won't hit you.
Just spam.
I don't have any like specific vibes other than that, but like that's kind of where I go to right away.
I like it. I like where your head is at. Let's go with our second one. See if that firms anything up for you. This company never fails to make the most painstakingly mediocre video games the most addicting ever. This company never fails to make the most painstakingly mediocre video games the most addicting ever.
Oh, is it Zenless Zone Zero?
Let's see. Let's find our 3rd prompt. See if you stay with your answer there. People who love opening a menu and pressing the claim button to receive upgrade materials will be overjoyed about this one.
Yes.
You want to stick with your answer?
Yeah.
It is indeed Zenless Zone Zero. You love to see it. Congratulations. Chat's in the clap. Folks, do let us know when you got that one, if you got it right away. I knew this was a game you had played at the very least, and so that was where I started.
Yeah, I have the platinum in this game.
Yeah?
Like, I played a lot.
I didn't
of
hate
this.
it. I enjoyed it.
It was, I think by hours, this was my most played PlayStation game last year, was Zenless. Part of that is because like I didn't beat Dragon Age that year. Like I have finished it, but like with the release. But yeah, I played a ton of Zenless. I really enjoyed this game.
Yep.
But yeah, it is in a lot of ways indeed. Logging
The one
in,
that
hit
got me
claim
was
button.
actually the first one. Now that you know what the game is, I think the first one is the funniest one because, yeah, like they were fun, but you really didn't have to move much. You kind of just spammed buttons if you wanted to, and you could beat pretty much anybody for the first like 20 hours of the game, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I forget what they were called, but there was like the like corrupted versions of some things that were like the big bosses that you then fought over and over again because there was only so many of them. And those were really like the only things you had to like consistently like move around, try to dodge, and like keeping your party alive became something that you needed to attempt to do.
Right.
For the rest of it, a lot of times it's just, come in, button mash, hit them with a parry, hit them with the elemental ability or whatever. But man, fun world. I really liked the Zenless setting.
Very nice. Chats in the clap. You nailed it. You got it. Very good stuff. With that, we're going to move into our next segment of the show, which is my favorite.
At this point in nerd history.
It is time for At This Point in Nerd History. We're going to be changing it up a little bit. We've been changing up At This Point in Nerd History currently. Instead of covering everything that happened on this day, which is February 13th, throughout time and space, instead, we're just going to focus on one thing that happened that I think is interesting enough to talk about. And so in 2008, there was actually 2007 into 2008, there was a very famous writer's strike that impacted so many shows of that era and was really like a very big deal for the television industry. But there is one thing in particular that I wanted to show you if you've never seen it before to our folks that are watching Twig. And this is probably going to get DMCA'd, but you know, it is what it is. It's a fun bit, and it's something that is incredibly important to me, who is a major Conan O'Brien fan. So I don't know if any of you like late night or if you're into that like genre of television, but Conan is the best to ever do it. He is my very favorite. He is still somebody that I keep up with everything that he does. I was all on his team for Tonight Show antics and all this stuff. And so during some of the era of the writer's strike, we had a thing that Conan would always do on late night whenever he didn't have writers. He would really kind of like stick it to the man of doing this random segment where he would spin his ring. And so I have queued up a video for us of one of the times where he cued his ring and something particularly silly happened. So enjoy the full clip and the rest of the stuff there from Conan. I just love that one because he gets booed for spinning his ring. I thought about doing a ring spin of my own as like an addition onto this bit for At This Point in Nerd History. But then I realized just how boring it is to watch a ring spin. Like that is the reason that he has the big band and the throws to the faces, because it's a long time of dead air for like 40 seconds of just staring at a ring. So
it's also a very classic, this is why you need writers.
Exactly.
Like this never would have made it out of the writer's room.
Exactly. And I love it. I love it so much. I love that that was Conan's little subtle jab of being like, see, I need my writers and you need to treat them better. I've always been a big advocate for them as a writer himself. So good stuff there. With that, we're going to get into our next segment of the show, which is, of course, all right, upcoming releases. We're going to go and share 3 things that we are excited about that are coming out in the near future. And I'm going to let you start out with your first one on your list. Take it away.
Sounds good. I'm going to start us off with Lost Records Bloom and Rage Tape 1. This was announced at the State of Play as well as part of the PlayStation Plus game catalog. And so we'll be getting this February 18th. For people who don't know, that this is a Life is Strange style narrative adventure set in the picturesque corner of Michigan in 1995 for a group of high school girls that some fateful events happen. And then in 2022, they are reuniting and they kind of have to put those pieces back together.
Yep.
And so, as I said, tape 1, February 18th, and then the second one will come later in April on April 15th.
Yeah, I am hyped. I'm so excited. I have had this one on my docket. It was on my list until I saw you had it. And so I let you have this one, but I'm so excited for it. I cannot wait to play this and to see where it goes.
I appreciate your act of service
Yes,
of
that's
making
exactly
that
what it
sacrifice
was.
for me.
Exactly what it was. Very good. My first one is a game that I've also been waiting for quite a long time. Afterlove EP is officially dropping tomorrow. It's a unique mixture of dating sim, rhythm game, and narrative adventure. Afterlove EP has you exploring modern Jakarta as Rama in his journey to learn more about himself, create music, find love, and come to terms with the loss of his girlfriend, Sinta, whose voice still lives on in his head. This is the final project from the original creator of Coffee Talk. And so this is something that has been a long time coming. It was really mostly worked on by his team because of the fact that it is quite posthumous in the sense that it was very much in its beginning phases there. So I have been eagerly awaiting this game, and I just love for some reason, if it is a story that is told in like the Philippines or Indonesia, there's something about these indie games. They're so good. They're such good narratives. And this is one that I played the demo for and super enjoyed and cannot wait to get more of. And it's coming out on Valentine's Day. It's a love story. We love to see it. All right. Your next one.
My next one. Captain America Brave New World drops tomorrow on Valentine's Day. So this is the 35th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starring Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson and as Captain America. This will be continuing the story that we have been building as we reach towards the end of Phase 5. I'm excited for this. I love Anthony Mackie. I feel like he's done a great job. I'm also very excited to see Harrison Ford play a grumpy president. It seems like right up his alley, and I'm very excited for what this is going to do and set up for the future. As I kind of talked about over on First Geek, I'm very excited for Thunderbolts, and so I'm hoping that we'll get some sort of tie-in here between this film to set up Thunderbolts or some sort of connection there. But yeah, I'm excited for this one, and I'm hoping that this lands. I know reviews have been dropping and are not exactly glowing, but I'm hoping. I'm an enjoyer of things, and I am hoping to have a great time.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to see it. I'm sure it'll be fun at the very minimum. Did you say it was the 35th Marvel film?
That is what Wikipedia says.
That's insane, and I had no idea. That is so wild. That makes me feel real ancient. I feel very old now.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy that the MCU films are longer than like seasons of shows. Like content wise, like we have so many of them that like you could legitimately watch this and you'd have longer than a single season of television if you watched one a week.
Unreal. Well, I will definitely be seeing it. It sounds like you will as well. So I look forward to seeing how it actually portrays because the reviews are always a mixed bag. Anyway, the next one for me is an indie game that dropped today, Urban Myth Dissolution Center. Uncover the truth behind urban legends, cursed objects, and supernatural phenomena in the Urban Myth Dissolution Center. As the renowned psychic medium, Azami Fukurai, and alongside Yumi Megaria, director of the center, players will solve cases related to urban legends. This just looks fun. I'm a big fan of this type of like mystery game. It looks kind of like a spooky Ace Attorney. So you throw those things together and I'm going to have a good time with it no matter what. So this is one that I've had my eye on for a little bit. And I'm curious to know how it actually pans out and if it is as good of an experience as it appears to be.
Then my last one is a little farther out than normal for this week in Geek, but I did kind of want to shout out the upcoming expansion for Lorcana, which is called Arcasia's Island. And so the blurb from the site is that, welcome to Arcasia's Island, where friendly pets abound. Beyond the cast of cuddly critters lies an ancient secret just waiting to be discovered. And so I have been around Lorcana since the release of the first chapter, but this is the first time that I'm like actually going and actively playing the game. And so this is the first time that I have been like paying attention to the spoilers and reveal season that we're in the thick of right now. Besides just, oh, that's a cool character or that card seems fun. Like I'm actually like looking and grabbing and thinking of like deck building for what these cards can do, as well as like my very limited understanding of what the meta and what things look like. This set is also introducing dual ink cards for the first time. Up to this point, every card in the game has been a single color of ink. Now we'll have doubles. And so there's also some very cool stuff coming with that. Some of the specific cards that I've seen that I'm really excited about are Bell, Mechanic Extraordinaire, Scrooge McDuck, Resourceful Miser, and Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam.
Very cool. Well, that's exciting. I'm going to eventually play Lorcana. I'm going to get in it eventually. I don't know when, but I'm curious about it. I can't get into the collecting scene, that's for sure, because Pokemon, took up that. I can't do it again, but it was so good. So I am always curious about this. I'm glad to see that it's still going, still getting energy behind it, continuing on with the fan base and like keeping on hyping up this game. I look forward to seeing where Lorcana continues to go. And the day that they build out a like fully fleshed digital app version, I'm very excited to give it a college try.
Which I do believe there are rumors of an official app on the way, or like there's been teases about it and stuff like that. So hopefully sooner than later, we'll have something like that.
Love it. I am going a week out for mine, which typically I do not do, but Tribe 9 is releasing a week from today. This is an extreme action RPG where groups of teens will endure multiple losses and devise strategies to overcome formidable foes. Dive into a crazy adventure with unique characters and a meticulously crafted world with a variety of art styles by the same creators of the Danganronpa series. And there it is at the very end, the reason why I talked about this one. I am a diehard fan of Kodaka and Ichikoshi, and I am so excited. I watched the anime for Tribe 9, so I kind of already know the story, but just knowing Kodaka, anime versus games, I always enjoy the games more. So I'm excited to see what they further dive into with this one. So I will be for sure playing this next week. It is also coming out on the phone, which is weird. I don't know how or why. I guess, I played Zenless on my phone too. So maybe it's just another kind of that vibe with the anime weeb stuff, but yeah, I'm definitely going to play it. I'm all about it. And I love that they included the pink blood in the thumbnails. That's so absurd. Even with Tribe 9, they never lose it. So I'm more excited for the 100 line, which is the next like true spiritual successor to Danganronpa. Tribe 9 was not really that close to the actual murder mystery trials of the game, but that comes out later this year and this comes out next week. So I'm more excited for this one currently. And that is our upcoming releases. So do let us know, folks, if there's anything that you have been excited for coming out in the next week or so. Feel free to drop your recommendations. I'm always looking for games, TV shows, movies, things that people are excited for. I would love to know more about what you got going on there. With that, we're going to get into the final segment of the show. We made it officially. Meme of the week. All right, it is our meme of the week. Our meme of the week this week comes from Yeet the Boots over on our Discord server. This time it is, Doctor, we had to remove your appendix, and Tolkien responding, but that's where I explain why elves hate dwarves, which is a great meta reference to Tolkien's work in the appendices of the Silmarillion and the such, where that is where the true lore drop happens for all of the good Lord of the Rings stuff. A good goof, a good meme. If you would like to be considered for meme of the week next week, then be sure to use our memes and goof section over on our Discord server. The one that gets the most reactions is typically the one that I choose for this week. I do think this week we actually had a tie, and so I had to flip a coin, and this was the one that took it in the end. But good stuff there. Okay. With that, we're going to get towards the final closing of the show. And in order to start that, I want to give Cameron some time. Let me know, what would you like to shout out? What would you like to talk about? Where can people find you? All that good stuff.
So as I said at the top, you can find me around the internet as HumarWhitIll. I have started trying to actively use Blue Sky. I also am on Storygraph, as Nate referenced. And then there's also a new book social media app called Tome. And so that one is very cool as well. Kind of just a place, kind of taking over for the lack of book talk and people kind of moving over there and trying out a new platform. And so I've been enjoying that one as well. And then, of course, you can find me streaming over on CameronPlus Deanna Monday, or on First Geek 411 on Monday nights. And then you can find me streaming games over on CameronPlus Deanna, typically Sunday afternoons. And sometimes Thursdays when I'm not on This Week in Geek.
Very good. We love to hear it. Well, do be sure to check out Cameron in all the various spaces. We appreciate you being our guest this week and taking time out of your night for an hour and a half to dive into the state of play with us. It's been a great show, and I have particularly enjoyed it. With that, we're going to wrap things up. This has been Twig, your weekly geekly family-friendly news show delivered live on YouTube each and every week, keeping your family connected to the world of nerdy news. If you watched this far, you probably enjoyed it, so be sure to give us a 5-star on your podcast app. Click that like button if you're watching us on YouTube. Recommend the show. Share it to your favorite nerds. And we do appreciate everybody that supports the show by watching, by liking, by doing all those things. But I want to give an extra special shout out to those that go a step beyond and also subscribe to us over on Twitch, or now subscribe to us on YouTube. We now have YouTube memberships, which is actually cheaper than Twitch, and we get more of it from the financial end. So if you want to give less to Jeff Bezos and more to us, because we're no longer streaming this one on Twitch, so I feel like I can say that, then feel free to check us out there. But a quick shout out to our subscribers that choose to throw some bones our way. Over on Twitch, we have Xando Calrissian, Gobi Church, Teeny Christina P, DGC 121996, Mindful Marlena, Sugar Haiku, Stinky Pig 633, Trombone Dalek, Buish, Wise and Lemur, Coyote 42, Perspective, Maybe 30 Bats, and Joanna the Scribbler. And then subscribed both on Twitch and YouTube are Twilight 27 and Nerd Pastor Nate. Folks, with that, as we wrap this up, the question is, will there be Twig next week? And the answer, yes, there will be Twig next week. So if you want to catch it next Thursday night at 7 o'clock here on YouTube, be sure to do that. And with that, we're going to end this with the 3 things that we believe to be true about every single one of you out there. Whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, go to church, don't go to church, hate God, hate church, no matter what, we still believe these things to be true about you. Number 1, that God loves you, like really, really loves you. Number 2, we love you. We want community with you. That's what we're doing here. And then number 3, that you, yes, you matter. You are a person of sacred worth. The world's a better place. Why? Because you are in it. Folks, again, another shout out to Cameron. Thank you so much for being our guest. And to all of you who watch the show, thank you as well. And we are going to wrap it up there. So until the next time that I see you, bye-bye.